G'day folks, it's DIY Guy 123 here bringing you another do-it-yourself video. Are you trying to match a power takeoff shaft between an implement and your tractor? You better pay attention. If the shaft is too long, as you raise and lower the implement to the point where it can't compress anymore, and now you're putting a tremendous amount of force on the PTO shaft of your tractor and on the gearbox of your implement, it's thousands of dollars damage if you push that shaft into the tractor. So how do we prevent that from happening? Well, you need to make sure that the PTO male and female shaft can go together completely without bottoming out on all positions of the three-point hitch. Many of the videos that I've seen, they show this being measured with the tractor with its tires on the ground. And you may notice that I've got them blocked up. With this angle, the implement will be able to go a lot lower. And I'm going to measure the spacing basically between this input shaft and the output shaft at all angles of the three-point hitch. And I'll take the minimum measurement, and that's what I'm going to use to determine how my shaft needs to be cut down. If your top link became shorter because you wanted to adjust the angle of your implement, now suddenly you may be changing the length of this shaft. Now it would be ideal that the top link wouldn't matter because these pins are perfectly in line with the center axis of that input shaft for the implement, but you can't count on that because not every implement would be made the same way. So it's a good idea to shorten your top link as well to make sure that when it's short and when it's long, try a couple of settings that it doesn't impact the distance. You're gonna have to remove the plastic covers. So this is the tractor end. And in order to get the plastic shroud off, you need to take these little plastic, they look like little screws, rotate them 90 degrees so that they're actually facing in this direction. I've already done it. And then pop them out. And after you do that, you can slide this off. And then this outer shroud will slide off. Okay, so with the three-point hitch in the highest position, I've rotated the yoke so that it's horizontal. And I'm going to measure from this surface right here to the end of the output shaft right there. And I got probably 21.5. And now I'll lower the implement halfway and measure again. We get 23.5. Here's 24 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm less concerned about the actual measurement right here, and I really just wanted to determine the orientation of the three-point hitch that gave the least distance from the implement to the PTO shaft. So now that we know that it's when it's in the upright position, we're going to raise the implement up as high as it will go. And if you're in doubt at all, you should shrink your top link and lengthen it to take the measurements there to see how that changes things. So, with the PTO shaft engaged with the tractor and the shaft component that's on the implement in place, you can see how much too long this shaft is. I want to have like a 2-inch buffer here as well. Where I overlapped the two shafts, this one right here, I've marked it. If I cut it off here, it will just come to the end of this shaft. Same thing down here. Before I cut them, I'll use a tape measure and measure in another 2 inches so that I have clearance, as mentioned. You need to cut equal amounts off of the two shafts. I'm going to show you two ways of cutting. With the bandsaw is one way, and I'll show you a handheld angle grinder with a cutoff wheel in the other. Then we're going to use a file, taper this inside of this one and the outside of the other piece. And this time I'm going to use an angle grinder with a cutoff disc. I tapered the outside edge here, and you'll see now that these two shafts will not bottom out. There's about 1 3/4 inches or so gap there, but you have this amount of overlap. So the next thing we're going to do is cut down the plastic shrouds. Now that I know that it fits, I'm going to take it off. I'm going to heavily grease the male shaft and then put this shroud back on and reassemble and we'll be done. Slip. Then we lock on the retainer for the shield. Good luck with your do-it-yourself projects. You can do it too.